Hello, my name's David Lee. In this video that I've called Dummies Rules of Economics, I'd like to explain to you how I view the world running my small businesses over the last few decades and how I can prepare and plan for things coming in the future, things that are unexpected, changing markets, and how I can project where I want my small business to be. Now, I can tell you, as I have given presentations to many small business owners over the years, the vast majority are just doing things on a day-to-day basis. They have no idea what could be coming round the corner. Would you like to know how I see the world and how I turned not understanding economics when I was at school into making a lot of sense out of it? The reason is the economy is based on a collection, a vast collection of people, individuals. So whenever you see the markets or different economies or trade, that is the interaction of people wanting goods and services. So how can we relate it back to individuals? The three rules are: number one, sex; number two, greed; number three, fear. These are all human emotions. Let's look at number one, sex. Yeah, really? If there's no sex in the world, how do you have population? How do you have future markets? Everything starts from sex. So a couple, for example, a husband and wife, they have a child. In fact, to maintain the population in a given country, they have to have at least 2 children. In fact, they need on average 2.1 children in case the child doesn't make it to adulthood. So everything depends upon, there's a market out there. If there's no demand, well, there's no supply. So that's where it all starts off. I'd like to point down below to crystallize this. I've got a chart here that has got the fertility rate per couple. Now it goes from 1 child, 2 children, 3 children, 4 children. It's not too complicated, it's general, we're looking at the trend. I've started this for the Western world from 1950 through the 60s, 70s, right up till now. Now, in fact, the baby boom generation started in the late 1930s and peaked up at around 1960 to 1962. So, that's where the peak occurred. But since then, in the Western world, gradually over the years, it has declined. It's gone below the threshold of 2 children per household to now, in many countries, it's approximately 1.5. In fact, the economies of Japan, Germany, Italy, United Kingdom, the United States are all below that threshold. It means over time their population is dwindling. A more extreme example of that was China at this time in the 1950s had 6 children per household. And with the one-child policy, it's gone right down to 1.5. And so imagine the effect on the markets as these baby boomers, for example, where they were just children in the 60s, now 50 years on, they're now hitting retirement age. In fact, they are now at retirement age. What was goods and services and requirements for these children growing up and maturing and having their own households, their own families, is now a completely different market. You could be addressing a market where there is a boom in this sector from the baby boomers generation. But look what's happened since. There's less and less. Automation, for example, has increased multifold since that time. So if you're in an industry and you say, what's happened? Why has the market changed? Well, it could be this very reason. Second, if you look back over the last 50 years, as these baby boomers were growing up, they had wants, needs, and that's where we had all the demand and all the supply. The market went up. We had inflation in the 1970s as these baby boomers were learning their skills. They were expensive to look after, to bring into the economy. And so when they started being productive, when they reached their late 30s, 40s and had children, that's when the greed came in, because everybody wanted everything at the same time, and they used credit cards to max out and overspend. And what do people do? They through greed, they want everything, and they want it when? Now. So that was a typical sign. And for me, in the early 2000s, in the property industry, I could see people were overspending. The lending was getting out of control. And it was just, properties would come on the market in development areas and they were getting snapped up just like that. No thought about what may happen down the road. And what happened? In the late 2000s, as I was seeing, as I was forecasting, the fear came into the market because what happened? The crash came around 2007, 2008, and so everybody, you could see the fear on their faces, and it's still there. Still today, when I'm in the train or in a coffee shop, I overhear people talking about their financial problems. Just the other day, a gentleman was sitting next to me having a conversation and saying, I'm going to have to go into bankruptcy. It's going to be 6 years before I get out of it. I'm 54 years of age, and I might as well go and spend the savings that I've got, otherwise I'll lose it. Then I'll go into bankruptcy, but the kids are off my hands, and these are seniors that it's happening to. Think about in your industry what you're doing, who your target audience is. Look up demographics on Google. Look it up in combination with your market, with your industry. Understand that. Bring it back to the individual. For the most part, I'd say most people do not understand this, and yet it makes so much more sense when you bring it back to this human level. My name's David Lee. I talk about this when I help develop your business and see the things that you can't see, because typically we're doing things burying our heads in the sand, trying to keep our heads above water on a day-to-day basis, juggling many things at the same time, aren't we? And we can't see things that others can see. With hindsight, yeah, it's easy, but with foresight we can't see what's around the corner. Give me a call, get in contact with me, and maybe I can help you in your small business. Thank you very much. This is David Lee.